I would like to start answering to your question with a saying which I like very much, in fact. That's about order comes from chaos. And the reason I'm using this saying is because I think it's not a coincidence the fact that blockchain and cryptocurrencies were launched during the financial turmoil in 2008. And the next argument to sustain this idea of coincidence is the fact that Satoshi Nakamoto, the creator of Bitcoin blockchain, he makes a reference of the practices such as government bailout to banks by inserting a message in the Genesis block. So speaking about the impact, I think that if we look at the big picture, I would say that blockchain technology doesn't want to drastically change the way things work, but rather to complete the existing system to bring more order. And by order, I mean more structure, things should be more clear, more transparent. And eventually, the aim is to boost the efficiency overall. And now, if we look at the blockchain first application, which are the cryptocurrencies, we know that they were at first threatening, we would say, the financial markets. But nowadays, because this technology, blockchain, has developed so much, it has an immense potential. So we don't talk just about cryptocurrencies anymore. There are many other applicabilities. And it aims to revolutionize, firms, businesses, business models, industries, and eventually the whole world. I think there are pros and cons against this new technological revolution. And here I will just mention some advantages, for example, which I believe they are worthwhile to mention. Let's think about how blockchain can change the business operation. Like, for example, the reduction of paper-based processes. Everything will be automatized. Everything should be more efficient, and there will be less human errors. If we take the examples of firms which want to use blockchain technology in their when they conduct business with other firms, so they will be using blockchain with their partners, with their suppliers. This will help the industry, the business world, to be more interconnected, and it will enhance the performance in the end. I think another advantage will be that thanks to this technology, there will be more trust within the business, because in the end, you don't really have to blindly trust your business partner. You just have to trust the tool. Blockchain will do its job, what it was programmed to do. And another very important thing to mention as an advantage, I would say, is the fact that the world leads to more decentralization. Maybe this is not applicable everywhere. It's not generally applicable, but in certain cases, we need decentralization. It's useful. It's because there is no central authority. There is no single point of failure. Like, for example, when you transact, you don't necessarily need the bank to approve your transaction. You can do it quickly and very secure through the blockchain. So this is an example where decentralization is very welcome, for example. On the other hand, there are some risks. Again, these risks, they cannot be generalized. So let's mention some of them. If we take our first example from advantages, if we automatize the processes, there will be a loss in the jobs. This risk can actually be solved, because if we actually invest more in training, if we try to create more specialists in this field, they will not lose job. Because they're with the development of this industry, there will be other jobs created where people with expertise in blockchain will be needed. So with time, this risk will hopefully not exist. Then another risk could be the fact that because it's a new technology, even though investors, they acknowledge the fact that it has a great potential, it can lead to decrease in the cost, because if you automatize processes, you will not need people to do those jobs. For example, this is an example of cost reduction for the firms, right? But before reaching that point, you have to invest in this new technology. So firms are sometimes a bit skeptical. Is my investment worthwhile? Because unfortunately, at this point, we still do not have enough successful examples in the market. We still have to wait up to that point, to reach that point. But overall, I think most of the risks, like for example, the regulation, there are some gaps in the regulation. This is another risk which is going slowly but surely in the right way. There is a big progress done in this this direction. And cyber attacks, for example, this is another risk, but I perceive these cyber attacks like a race between developers and criminals. One team wants to improve the technology, the other one wants to break the technology, right? But all of these are just some things which are normal in the case when we talk about innovation, when we talk about new technologies. So all of innovation cases suffer from this kind of flaws, we would say. But with time, we work on this, we improve, and the list of risks should become lower and lower, while the advantages should become bigger, right? I would say that in spite of their pretty short history, cryptocurrencies indeed proved to be pretty unstable. And that's true, especially if we compare them to the traditional market when we speak about stock market, right? But however, I will not rush into saying that, okay, the behavior of cryptocurrencies, it's inherited in volatile, or this is in their nature. I would like to make an analogy here. I always try to compare the internet era versus the blockchain era, because I think they have many things in common, especially if we talk about the beginnings and how they evolved, they developed at start. So when we talk about innovation, about new technology, especially if it's something so new that you can't really compare with something you have, for example, something you know, this is usually perceived like very challenging, and the public tends to be skeptical. It's easy, it's easier to judge and reject than to try to understand. So I would say that the beginning of both internet era and blockchain, it's full of disbelief. And in finance, we speak very often about investor behavior, about the speculation. And if we put here the lack of faith in blockchain, in innovation, and the possibility of occurrence of, I don't know, an unusual event like a cyber attack, for example. Well, if you put these two together, you already have the perfect recipe for volatility, for unstable market. On the other hand, the literature started to talk about the fact that the crypto market slowly started to be more stable, and I tend to support them. And if we look, for example, in the market before the what happened in the crypto market before the COVID pandemic. So we could observe that actually, there was no significant disturbance. But from the moment when there were the first signs of COVID panic, both traditional and crypto markets started to seriously decline and to become unstable. So they responded to the events from these events. In other words, I believe that cryptocurrency market is still young and not mature enough to make such statement like inherited volatile character. With regards to the technological characteristics which could support stability, I think honestly that there is not enough research done on this on this regard. Of course, I believe that there are some technological aspects which could have an impact, such as the energy consumed by the proof of work cryptos, for example, the size of the block, the speed of transactions, and so on. But there's no clarity as how it can impact, and not sufficient evidence as if it does. So we still have we the researchers, we still have to work on this. I strongly believe that researchers have a great contribution in the evolution of this market from many perspectives. For example, if we look at the industry, we spoke a bit earlier that the professions are not, that professors maybe are not too many, very much trained. There are not perhaps enough specialists in the field. So I think professionals need more clarity and understanding with regards to this topic, and the studies made on this matter might have the potential to boost the development of the crypto market and make the public hesitation, just a matter of the past. At the same time, cryptos and blockchain are still new, they are still young, I would say. And there are many undiscovered mysteries. Therefore, as a researcher myself, I think that it's our duty to make further progress on this topic and explore it as much as possible. We have a lot of unanswered questions, like the one we mentioned before. And I was reading something recently about the interconnectivity between blockchains, because blockchains do not really communicate with each other. So instead of using an application which was specially developed to help blockchains to communicate, is it possible, for example, to program the blockchains to automatically communicate with another one? Or we were speaking about tokenized assets, and there were questions like, if you register, if you record an asset in the blockchain A, for example, and then the blockchain A, it's communicated with blockchain B, and you make a transaction in blockchain B, transaction which is linked to the asset recorded in blockchain A. And will the transaction be linked somehow to that record, and how, and there are many details and interesting topics which need more debate, more research. And I think this is the fun part of research. At the same time, I think as a researcher, why not bring some new ideas for research, or also for the developers? Why not? We can to invent something new, or to bring a new characteristic to this tool. Why not? But however, I think there are many challenges and opportunities lying ahead, and we should never stop. So sky's the limit. We tend to speak a lot about the applicability of blockchain, what are the application, how can we improve the world thanks to that. But there is also a dark side, I would say, of blockchain, and sometimes we are afraid to talk about it. And so what is the dark side? Thanks to its special features, such as anonymity, so you don't know exactly the identity of the person who makes the transaction, or immutability. Once the transaction is made, you cannot reverse it like you do in case of a bank, for example. Decentralization, there is no bank, to confirm the transaction, and so on. So these special features of blockchain has opened a door for the criminal world, and this made things easier for them to run their businesses. And I'm honestly very much interested in learning more about the use of this technology in practices such as money laundering, for example, acquisition of forbidden items with cryptocurrencies, scams, or even theft of cryptos. And I believe it's a very interesting and complex subject. I'm very excited about it, especially because it involves knowledge from many, many fields, which I'm not really an expert in. In my opinion, it's always a great idea to work with people from different backgrounds, especially if we have a common goal. This experience, I think most of the cases becomes a learning group experience. It's not just about work, it's also about learning, sharing. And talking about my experience, I'm honestly very, very happy to be part of a mixed group. We have different perspectives, different knowledge, different experiences, which in the end brings the result of our work in a very satisfying point. I'm coming from the management area, while the topic of my research is more related to computer science and finance. So that being said, I'm really benefiting from the knowledge I'm getting from my supervisors from both sides, both fields. And I'm constantly learning from books, from literature, from anything you want, but also from the debates we have within the team, because the meetings we have, sometimes they give me the feeling that it's not a normal meeting. It's not something you'd see, for example, in the corporate sector. It's more like a short lecture with a discussion between the participants, which is more like pedagogical, And I think the best part of this whole experience is the fact that I am not the only one learning. I strongly believe that we all have something to learn from each other.